Well, I'm going to take some shots at the publishing industry.
Ooh, please do. That's what we're here for.
Hopefully nobody's offended, but I just...
The right people will be.
Yeah, publishing has been around for so long, right? Back in the Codex days. I just think the industry has been broken for quite a while. Who gets to tell stories is really constrained. What those stories are about is really constrained. It gets even worse when you get into children's books in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and which stories are represented. And then there's just this over entertainingification of kids' media that treats kids like they can't interact with anything else, or they don't have any other thoughts, experiences outside of that. So,
hi, I'm Joe Beal, the founder and CEO of Microcosm Publishing. I'm also the author of A People's Guide to Publishing, which distills what I've learned from selling millions of books over the past 28 years.
I'm Ellie Blue, the Vice President of Microcosm. We started this podcast to share what we've learned with newer publishers, so you can learn from our mistakes. Or maybe you just want to learn about the publishing industry.
This week, we bring back Jelani Memory, founder of A Kids Co., and we are going to learn about the trademarked, maybe not literally trademarked, but ideologically trademarked writing program where they teach people to write one of their books. So if you missed last week's episode, check that out for background on how cool and unique A Kids Co. is. But so why did you create this writing program?
I thought, how do I take all my gripes and actually build a process that maybe solves for all of them? And I'm a creative first and foremost. I'm an artist, I'm a writer, I'm a designer. And so we came up with this one-day writing workshop process that we call the workshop method. We've written 200 books this way.
Wow.
We bring in a unique, singular, and authentic voice related to a specific topic. Someone who, if you knew them and you knew that topic, you would realize they were inextricably connected through their own personal experience, education, family history, upbringing, etc. And we spend 4 to 5 hours together, sometimes in person, most of the time on Zoom or Google Meet, and we write the book together. And there are some bits and pieces in that process that I'll get into in a second, but it's not more complicated than that. 90% of the work is selecting the right person to represent that topic who's there for the right reasons. If they're there for economic reasons, they're there for the wrong reasons. We need them there for story reasons to write that book that they wish their 7-year-old self had, okay?
And are these experienced writers?
No. 90% of the time, they are not experienced writers. In fact, they're going, you want me to write a book with you?
So they're topic experts?
Yeah. Well, and we're going to do it in a day. It's what are you up to, Jelani? We need them to be able to extemporaneously be able to provide information, context, expertise, and domain authority and authenticity around an important topic for kids and help break it down. And we'll help them with some of the writing bits, some of the storytelling bits, some of the levity bits and structure bits, which ultimately, look, you could go read a manual online. Those bits are out there, but what's irreplaceable is that authenticity, that voice behind it.
Yeah.
The whole first half of the workshop is on personal story. So everyone tells their personal story through the lens of the topic. So maybe that's having a lot of distance from that topic and going, I don't actually know that much about it. And so you sort of show all your vulnerability and insecurity and unawareness of that thing, or it might be a direct closeness to it. You put all your cards on the table. All we're trying to do for the author is create such a vulnerable context where they can be so authentic and honest and vulnerable to basically spill their guts. Whole second half, out of that, now we're writing. And once you've got people trusting each other and vulnerable and also some ideas on the table, writing is actually really easy once you've done that. and we do about 500, 600, 700 words, and all we're trying to do is to go, what are grown-ups never going to tell kids that we have to tell kids about this topic, and how do we tell it through your first-person voice and story? I mean, look, we've done this with kids. Our youngest author's 8 years old. We've done it with teachers. We've done it with folks from all sorts of industry, pop stars. We've done it with celebrities. I can tell you it is the same every time, because this thing called humanity and our own life experience, it links us in an inextricable way. And we have this litmus test at the end. We have the author read the book aloud back to us. And it's our way of going, could this have impacted me or changed my life when I was 5, 6, or 7? And if we can say, yeah, actually, this would have been meaningful if I had read this then we know we're onto something.
That sounds like a magical thing to participate in.
Yeah.
It's a pretty incredible process.
So do you have like an editorial template, like a architecture that you use?
Never. It is jumping off the cliff and building the plane on the way down. Wow. It's like bungee jumping. I mean, it's scary. But it's you only with that sort of fear of going, we must do this today, and having the right participants in the room and going, we have to get the level of vulnerability up, and we have to find what this book is in this session today. It creates that urgency to go, we're doing more than just writing a book. We're trying to change some kid's life out there who needs this story so much. And some authors will just say no to going, I can't do that process. Great. Don't come do a book with us. But when we do books, this is the way we do it. No pre-written stuff, no pre-written manuscripts. You're diving into this process that really you have to bring your whole self to.
Wow.
So is this something that you are just like kind of sharing your trade secret, or is this something where you would like encourage other people to do something similar for their
yes, steal it. Steal it. I think it is, I think, and I say this, without any ego, I think it is the most inclusive writing method there is. You do not need to be a good writer to do this. You do need to be one with yourself, right? And your own experiences to be able to share from that. And we all know that feeling of like, when someone gives up and gives a speech that's true and authentic and real and not performative, but sort of like cuts straight to the heart, it's 10 times better than the great speaker, right?
Totally.
And so I think kids recognize that inside of our books. Now, that's first draft manuscript. From there, it's a couple weeks of editing, it's design. But, I mean, the pace we move at, I remember when I was explaining it to the folks at DK, they were like, wait, what? Like, how fast? Wait, when? And they were, it wasn't that they were trying to modify our process in that acquisition. They were like, don't change a thing. Like, stay out of all the rest of our processes that might muddle that up. Like, do what you do, because clearly there's some magic here to it.
I love that. Can you give us like 1 or 2 examples of books where this process you thought went especially well and produced an especially powerful book?
Yeah, there's a handful of times. We did a kid's book about bullying with a 14-year-old.
Oh, wow.
With ataxic cerebral palsy. So her speech is really limited. So sometimes she's hard to understand. And of course, she was bullied relentlessly for this in grade school and middle school. That turned her into a bully. And then she got on the other side of both of those experiences and was able to sort of speak with great clarity about bullying.
Wow.
And I remember we got halfway through the process. She goes, I gotta use the restroom. She goes, her mom's there, because of course, she comes back, and then she just breaks down crying.
Oh.
And I thought, this is it. Like, her mom's just gonna take her. They're gonna leave.
Yeah.
And her mom just sat there, didn't do anything, didn't even try to comfort her, just let the moment breathe. And I said, what's going on? And she goes, I can't do this. Like, nobody's gonna listen to my story. And I said, you've already done the hard part. You've already lived it. All we're doing is translating it to paper. And I go, it's not just that I chose you because I think this might be good. I go, I think you're the only person to do this book because your experience is so acute and you have such an awareness about it. And I go, other kids need it. So let's get through the process, because this isn't easy. It was never going to be easy. Let's get through it to finish this story that other kids need. And it's still one of my favorite books to this day, because of the rawness and the honesty, and kids see themselves inside of her story.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. Now I want to go look at that book.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sold. Yeah. So I always say, like, write a book because you want to change culture, or you want to affect culture, or you like want to, and it's like, it seems like that's very much the same place you're coming from.
Yeah.
But I think the funny thing is that I think of us as like, we make books for people that don't read, whereas you make books by people that don't write.
Yeah. Yeah, that's clever. Yeah.
Well put.
So, like, was that an intentionality, or was that just because those were the people that were best to fill those gaps?
There's three things there. One is I wanted to fill the gaps with storytellers that are typically not represented. So that was very important to me, not just topically, but racially, gender-wise, socioeconomic, age-wise. The second thing, now I'm losing it. The second thing was, say the question again.
So why did you seek out people that don't write to be your authors? Because that's a little counterintuitive.
Oh, the second thing was my own origin story. I was a terrible reader as a kid, and would pretend to read in class because I read so slow. And we're taught to believe that, like, writing a book is the most prestigious, most honorific sort of thing you can do, and also it is impossible to do. And you need to be blessed by the gods of the publishing big five to just be able to even get close to it. And I thought, no, actually everyone's story has value, and I wrote a book for my kids that now spawned into this big thing. Actually, how do I welcome more folks into this process? And then I think, like, there are just these wonderful stories hiding in plain sight, all over the place. And I hate that one of the criteria of the publishing industry is, like, to publish a book, you need to have published a book. Like, what?
Right, yep. Yeah, and it's totally backwards, because, I mean, we found, like, every single one of our bestsellers is a debut. Like, literally, by definition, somebody that's never written a book before.
Yeah.
And then those are the ones where people are like, this is awesome. Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, you're right. It's backwards and it's broken. And, I mean, this is why independents have always been the one to fix what's broken.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like the big five are going to come in and be like, here's an innovative idea that we have created from nothing.
Yeah. No, that risk aversion is really high. So, look, I didn't know if it would work, but I was like, it makes sense to me, and it's worth a shot, and it really has sort of clicked into place.
Oh, well, thanks for sharing that with the world. And again, go steal the idea and write a book, even if you're not a writer.
Thanks for joining us once again.
Please send your questions to podcast@microcosmpublishing.com so we can answer them on future episodes.
And please give us 5 stars on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts are reviewed.
You can find us on the internet at microcosm.pub,
on Twitter at microcosm,
on Facebook at Microcosm Publishing,
on Instagram at microcosm_pub,
and here in Portland, Oregon on North Williams Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful week.
That's a great end to that episode.
All right.
Bernie is sitting completely under me.
Bernie